Mike, this week I'm traveling. You're still in Cincinnati. And as a result, we're going to keep it short and sweet and just stick to the booze news. So let's jump right into it. In beer news, Killer Bee Ale. What the hell? Mike, care to explain?
These freaks over in England or Wales, they have found saccharomyces cerevisiae or ale yeast in the stomach of killer bees, which may explain part of why they're so violent and angry. But so they've harvested this yeast from bee gut, and they're trying to find a partner to make beers with it.
Huh.
Or not,
So
the
does
yeast tastes
it taste
good.
good?
Who knows? I mean, you might have to put some honey in that beer.
Well, I mean, I guess that would be a nice bow on the gimmick cake that is honey Killer Bee honey ale.
Yeah,
Anyway, in other beer news,
whatever.
bathing in beer is good for you, apparently.
Of
You
course it
know,
is.
I don't I don't know if you can get drunk by osmosis or if it's just all the B6 vitamins in there, but if you can afford to take a bath in beer, I guess you should do it.
There are people. There were some people in Cincinnati that tried to open one of those beer saunas. I know they exist in other places in Europe. They have them, but somebody was trying to do it here. Although I don't think it ever got opened. I think they were trying to do it right about when COVID hit. So number one, it was kind of a stupid idea to begin with. And number two, I think the timing was terrible. So I don't think that thing ever got opened, but they exist. I mean, there are places out there that you can go like sit in a beer hot tub or yeah, I don't know why, but why is it good for you? What's it do for your skin? It's B
It's
vitamin
supposed to be,
somehow.
yeah, I think it's the extra vitamins and stuff in there. It's supposed to be good for your skin. Helps you
Why is
really
it so
shine or something.
shitty for my insides?
We're just drinking it wrong, I guess. You got to just put it on the outside of our faces, not inside. Uh, in other beer news, there's a new milk protein gel that apparently can sober you up and protect your liver. Have you heard about this yet, Mike? I know we've
I
heard a lot
have.
about gimmickry bullshit sobering you up chemicals, but this one seems legit.
Yeah, there's been a million different products that claim to sober you up, and none of them work. But this one's not actually a product yet. Nobody has tried it beyond rats so far, and they aren't great about explaining the psychological impacts. But it appears that they have actually been able to isolate some protein that then they make this gel product with, and when they give it to mice or rats or both, after they have drank, it not only dramatically decreases alcohol blood content, but it changes how you process the alcohol. It shifts the processing to your digestive tract as opposed to your liver. So it's causing less liver damage. Like the liver enzyme numbers of these mice and rats is really good. It seems like, though, I don't know if it means that you don't get drunk
Mm.
or you sober up more quickly. So I'm not exactly clear from what I have read. And I think that in part is really due to the fact of what I said kind of jokingly. I mean, you can't ask a mouse how drunk it is. Uh, you know, you can tell whether it's walking crooked or whatever. But yeah, until they start testing it on humans, I'll try it. I'll be a guinea pig on that shit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. If you can still get the buzz, but not have the liver damage, I mean, we're talking game changer here.
Right.
And even if it does decrease the buzz a bit and it helps prevent liver damage, this could be a treatment for alcoholics that can help save livers. I mean, this could be huge.
Yeah. Yeah,
In wine
absolutely.
news,
It's just an alcohol a treatment for alcoholism because so much of I mean you have primarily the psychological effect of alcohol cravings, but you also just have the physicality of it. I mean, I'm drinking coffee right now. I'm still drinking the hell out of it because I drink the hell out of coffee every day because it's just habitually I'm drinking things, you know? So, I mean, yeah, I'm for
In in
it.
in wine news, we have a couple small stories and a little bit bigger one. So we'll start with the easy ones. First, a free bottle of fine wine was given out by a tax policy provider if you actually read the fine print of what you were signing. If you read the whole thing, there's a little segment that says request a free bottle of fine wine. Only one person was successfully called that in after 3 months of them. So through the tax season, basically, only one person got it, which I guess is that surprising to anyone? Not to me.
No, it's not. And I don't know. These people that did it, it was kind of this, it was a protest from their standpoint. And what they were protesting is that you had to put these privacy policies on things that nobody reads. And that kind of pissed me off, honestly, because I think that you should take the opposite message away from it. That tacking on all of these long, complicated contractual agreements in formats that people are never going to read. Sometimes you can't even practically read. That's the problem is that you can just tack on all this bullshit that you're getting people to agree to when they're not really agreeing to it. You know, my takeaway is kind of the opposite. I mean, I think that we should do.
Mm.
Hell, I think that like Bruce guys should do the opposite, like a big ad that says, "Here's some free shit. You know, here's some free wine. Click on to agree to terms and services. And in terms and services, we get to come to your house and take your fucking couch and raid your refrigerator, and you've got to name your firstborn child after us and whatever because." You know, people will do it.
I like this. I, you
Yeah.
know, I wonder if that would hold up in court because if you can do it one way, why can't you do it the other way? Like you're saying, why
You
can't we
can.
just get people to agree to it?
I mean, you
We,
can. That's really kind of the point of it is that those agreements are what they are because the Supreme Court has said that you can do that shit, that you can stick all sorts of really heinous terms into those long boilerplate contracts that, you know, you sometimes the links don't even work too, right? And nobody's got time for that shit.
yeah, that's the big thing. No one's got time for that crap. Uh,
I'm trying to buy
speak,
shoelaces. You know, I don't have 45 minutes to read your fucking contract.
uh, so Beethoven, famous composer and musician and
Heard of
all that
them.
stuff. Yeah, and he was deaf, well known for being deaf. Well, some new research has come out explaining why he was deaf, and it was because of copious amounts of fish and wine. Now, you would think that that wouldn't make you deaf, but when you consider the fact that he loved plumbed wine, which basically means leaded wine because it fucks you up
Uh-huh.
more, and all of the fish that he was getting out of his German industrial villages rivers that were hella polluted with mercury and lead, among other things.
Yeah.
They think he went deaf because he basically poisoned himself.
So it wasn't the fish or the wine. It was a bunch of chemical toxic shit in the particular fish and wine that he was consuming.
Yes. So the moral of the story is don't worry, wine and fish won't make you go deaf, but lead will.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay away from the lead. I don't, was
So
the movie, you probably don't, there was a fantastic movie with Gary Oldman called Mortal Beloved that I know I love, but I haven't seen it in so long that I don't remember if it was about Beethoven or Mozart. But I think it was Beethoven. I think it was Gary Oldman as Beethoven. That's clearly not a good story because I don't even remember. But
I
check
got
out that
nothing. I have
movie.
nowhere to go.
Check out that movie, comment, and let me know who the fuck it's about. That's my film recommendation for the week.
Wine giant Gallo has announced its entrance into the beer category. So Gallo is up there with the likes of like Constellation in regards to how much wine impact it has. They're a massive company.
Yeah.
Finally getting into beer, and they bought beleaguered brand Montucky cold snacks. Mike, what's the move here? What are they thinking? Why are they doing this?
I don't know what they're thinking. And I'm not clear on whether they bought it or they went into some kind of partnership with these people. They're getting the IP in exchange for distribution, however it's working. But Montucky was this brand. It was, to my understanding, as an example of one of those couple of douchebags that had too much money and they decided they were going to get rich by contract brewing a beer because they, were going to hire marketers to put together this like horse label and this weird mashed together Montana, Kentucky name. And, it's bad beer. It's not terrible. It's not disgusting. It's just yellow
Yep,
beer.
just water.
And, but it's hard to make money contract brewing when all you're doing is bringing a horse label to the table. So their sales were apparently going up, but their profits weren't good. And I guess the idea is that, Gallo can do this in house, or maybe their pre-existing distribution, maybe their distribution models help benefit each other. I'm not sure, but I mean, Gallo does a lot. Gallo makes one of my favorite wines that I've referenced in the past, Night Train. It's really classy. So, they make a lot of cheap, shitty wine. And I guess like a cheap, shitty beer fits into the category, but I don't know. I don't know how it's going to help them, but maybe from an internal standpoint, both of them, shitty beer, shitty wine, the distribution networks that they have, maybe it makes sense.
Yeah,
But
I'm
I'm
getting some
impressed by the beer.
I'm getting some major like Constellation Corona vibes off of this, where they're trying to get their own version of a cheap beer that they can leverage and help grow and balance out their cheap wine. Whether it's going to play off or not, especially with the domestic brand. But like you said, Montucky Cold Snacks was their growth was coming due to exorbitant marketing spend. So it
Yeah.
was all basically artificial growth. And they ran out of money. Like when you're spending more on marketing than you're actually making off of sales, and like you said, contracting, adding an extra person into the 3-tier system, making it a 4-tier system, there's not a lot of money to go around for anybody. Um, they just ran out of money, and I bet Gallo got a killer deal. Now terms were obviously undisclosed, but there's no way in my mind that Gallo doesn't do this unless they're getting it on the cheap and just leveraging the marketing spend and distribution that already exists that they built in order to push it further. And
I would
if
have
they're
paid
able to bring it
$100 for that company. That's where I would have capped out at what I consider their real value. But if they're going to do the Corona thing, I mean, what kind of fruit do you put into a yellow horse beer? Which really is kind of funny, I guess. The whole thing is the horse, and the beer does look like horse piss. And I've never drank horse piss, but I don't think that they're radically different. So I don't know. What do you mint sprig like a julep, or you got to put something
cocaine,
in that glass to make it set it apart and make it drinkable, really. So yeah, good luck with that,
cocaine
guy.
rim, I guess. I don't know. Nothing else makes sense to me.
Sure. You guys are welcome for that piece of marketing advice. Uh, we'll send you the bill.
In spirits news, San Francisco has started giving homeless people free booze.
Sure.
So, it's not aimed at helping it's aimed at helping those who are dependent upon alcohol, because no matter what, the dependent person is going to seek it out and probably break laws or hurt someone to get it or themselves. So the thought is don't make this hard for people. They're going to get it no matter what. Why don't we give it to them and also provide help, a place to sleep if they need to sleep some stuff off, and try to get these people into the system and actively trying to get them off the streets. And counterintuitively, it's helping. A lot of people might think It wouldn't, but giving people what they need actually works.
It's same kind of rationale as a lot of those programs out of Vancouver and the Northwest around heroin use, kind of helping facilitate it, but also make it safer and bring people in. And, you let them know that treatment is an option and we're here and we're not going to bust your balls. If you want to be fucked
Hmm.
up, then you can be. But if you want to maybe live a better life, you can do that. But I do this. It's a little bit different. I mean, I tend to accumulate like a lot of beer that I don't really like over the course of the year because I get beer from different reasons. So on Christmas, I drop it off across the street from a homeless shelter in Cincinnati. But it's not really, I'm not trying to do anything great. I don't give money to the homeless or anything like that. I just figure once a year, why not let them get fucking drunk on craft beer? I don't think it happens with the homeless much in the course of the rest of the year.
It's not Saint Nick, it's Saint Mike. You're going to become the Cincinnati Santa Claus.
Just helping get the homeless fucked up, man. That's all. That's my version of philanthropy or whatever.
That counts. That counts.
I don't think that's the right word.
In retail news, it's just a short little one-liner here, but basically, uh, you know, economic experts, are very unsure of why inflation fears are surging for people yet again, and consumer sentiment is starting to tumble when all signs are pointing up, apparently, with our economy. So I don't think it's surprising as someone who is on the middle to lower end of the class spectrum in the U.S. But apparently, to these economic experts, it is horribly confusing.
Yeah, and it's confusing to me why it's so confusing to a bunch of these dipshits. And one of the things, part of it is that they isolate these numbers that they look at and they don't live in reality. One of the things that, I mean, I was thinking about this week that nobody is looking at the collective impact of these dramatic increases in real estate taxes because
Yeah.
it's happening, it's happening at the county level, but it's happening all across the country. And so, that gets factored into people's mortgage payments. And a lot of people don't really understand why their mortgage payment is going up as much as it's going up. They don't see it. And the ones that even get it and understand that their real estate taxes have increased 35, 40% over a 1 year period of time, a lot of them are blaming Biden for it. It's part of Bidenomics when it 100% has to do with whoever the fuck your county treasurer or auditor is in whatever state you're in, has nothing to do with federal policy at all. So there's a collective impact of a lot of these things that I don't think are being measured. This, whatever Harvard egghead halfwit is looking at national economic numbers, it doesn't even consider that your real estate taxes going up 35, 40% in a year is a dramatic fucking hit to people. It's thousands and thousands of dollars out of people's pockets that nobody's even looking at when they're measuring national inflation numbers. So part of it's they're just not even living in reality, and they're not even looking at all the data they should be looking at.
Yeah, that's a great point. It feels like anytime numbers start looking real bad, they change how the numbers are measured so they don't look as bad. And as a result, things are oftentimes a lot worse than we're giving them credit for. So,
Yeah,
we're
I
not.
mean, when it comes to real estate taxes in particular, there's nothing that Congress, you can't blame Biden, you can't blame Congress. There's a lot of like small shit. And even, we talk about beer prices. You can look at beer prices across the board, and the increases aren't that radically much. But the reality is that when I walk into a tap room in the greater Cincinnati area now, the amount of times people are charging me $8 for a beer, it's growing significantly. Beer pre-COVID was $5 in a tap room around here. Now we're up to 8. Well, fuck. I mean, I'm not doing that. I can't do it. I can't sit around a tap room and drink 5 or 6 $8 beers.
No, no, and that's I mean, that is the exact problem. So we're gonna only see it. We might see some good numbers through summer just because summer and people are going out. But once summer's over and people realize the damage they've done to their wallets, it's going to be tight in the fall and winter again. Um,
Yeah.
Moving on to cannabis news.
Thank
Louisiana
God. I need to get
has,
high now after that conversation.
well, not in Louisiana, you won't, because they just passed a bill effectively banning hemp derived THC.
Mhm.
They've lowered the rate from 0.3% down to 0% for THC in any beverage or consumable or anything like that. So the hemp derived THC market has now dried up in Louisiana. Is this something you can expect to hit other states, or do you think it's going to be isolated to this one state?
I think that the South in general likes to go the opposite way of however society is progressing. So it's probably just the first of, I'm sure Mississippi will jump onto that train and
Yeah.
Alabama and whatever. Um, so yeah, it's probably it's something that's happening on a state level. A lot of states are going the legalization route and they're trying to regulate THC, although I think they're doing a half-ass and uh, they're not doing a great job of it because it still remains federally illegal. So we've discussed it before. It's really kind of the Wild West with THC. So I think it's stupid of Louisiana to do it. I mean, particularly you got New Orleans driving a big part of your economy in that state. So I think that smart regulations are the smarter way to go, but whatever. There's a reason I don't live in the South.
Yeah, that sums it up. My first thought was New Orleans too. Is that the alcohol lobby is just too strong on a state level in New Orleans,
Right.
and anything that potentially could shake up the apple cart in regards to how the city makes its money, being alcohol sales, it was going to get tamped down. So it's not terribly surprising. Then you toss on the Bible Belt bullshit on top of that, and it was a no brainer that this was going to happen.
It is. That's a really valid point. Louisiana in general, I mean, it is a drinking culture. It's beyond, and it goes beyond New Orleans. You know, that state is, they drink a lot. They drink a lot
Yeah,
down there. And,
yeah, they got daiquiri drive-throughs for God's sakes.
yeah, yeah. It's so, yes. I'm sure the alcohol lobby is particularly strong in Louisiana.
Um, so
There's
our
also
final
an
story.
interesting thing, though, with like studies around what THC does, what weed does to you. There seems to be some interesting data that has come out about addiction rates recently.
Yes, yeah, that's a yeah, that's really interesting. There's some data that's showing that 30% of cannabis users have some sort of use disorder. So, addiction, dependency,
Right.
compared to alcohol, which is only 13.5%. So this whole narrative of cannabis being healthier for you or being California sober is not the case. And I think anyone, much like cigarettes in the 60s and 50s, like deep down, they're not good for you. But you're kind of just lying to yourself. And I think that's happening here with cannabis as well. Like, you got to know it's not that good for you. And the data is finally starting to come out that shows that it causes lasting brain damage, where alcohol does not, surprisingly. And then increased psychological risks around anxiety, depression, and memory loss. So, there's definitely real problems with cannabis that by moving from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 that Biden just did, hopefully will allow us to study these things a bit more and for people to be aware of what they're doing. And hopefully people aren't taking this California sober thing as seriously as it seems like people are, because you're still not being sober if you're getting high.
Yeah, I mean, a whole lot of people are, and it's bullshit. It's not that alcohol is good for you, but those rates. I mean, weed has never been the, oh, it doesn't do any harm drug that people have been portraying it as since I was an undergraduate. You know, there are always these people that are like, the California sober has been a thing before the term existed. And I'm not anti weed. You know, I like to smoke a little weed. I like some edibles, but I do it in definite moderation, because if I know from experience that if I do much of it, it messes me up. And I don't mean it makes me high at the time. I mean, it will, I can see depression and anxiety levels from using weed. And it's just not good for my particular mental health. And I think that when you're looking at 30% addiction rate on a drug, that's unfucking precedented. I mean, that's higher than oxycodone. Uh, Cocaine is something like a 15% addiction rate of users. So when you're talking about double addiction rates of Coke, then we're not understanding exactly what's going on with weed. And it doesn't make it evil, and it doesn't change my position that it should be legalized. But it also underlies the fact that by calling it a Schedule 1 narcotic since the 70s, we haven't been able to study it right, and we don't really know what the fuck it does.
Yeah, well said. And until we do, I mean, federal legalization without understanding health impacts is kind of silly. So I want both to happen quickly. I want us to start studying and understand this more, and to get this shit regulated and legalized, because it should be. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of
it
wild.
should be legal, but we should also understand exactly what it's doing to us.
Well said. Well said. On that note, that's our end of our news for the week. Mike, do you want to plug anything?
We have a book, Brett.
We
You and I, you wrote a book. You might not remember you were drunk. I was high. Uh, it's called Tanked in Cincinnati. And so it is Cincinnati centric, but we kind of took the general idea of what we were doing with history of American craft beer with the podcast, and we kind of turned that to Cincinnati. We talked to some great people. And so even if you're not in Cincinnati, the stories about the evolution of the craft beer business, they're really kind of universal, and they're very personal stories. They're just interesting personal stories, I think, business stories and life stories. So I feel pretty good about it. I think you feel pretty good
Same.
about it. You people should own copies of it. They make great gifts for absolutely everything. Graduations, sure.
Buy it on our website, link below, and we'll sign a copy and send it to you. And if you leave a comment on what you want us to say in your book, we'll write whatever you put, within reason,
Yeah.
of course.
Yes, right. Well, thank you for that fantastic night that we don't remember.
Well said. Well, Mike, I got to get to the beach. It's good seeing you again this week, and I'll see you again in person next week.
Got to get out to rainy Cincinnati. So enjoy. Have some beers from me.
Cheers.
See ya.